By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family, and welcome. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai. I'm one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Giving all honor, praise, and glory to the Most High, kicking the universe for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the Most High God for all of your lives. The life of Kobe, Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. Thanking the Creator for all things and everything. Also thanking the Creator for the life of the leader of our congregation, even my brother, Chief Prince Yehudah Ben Yissaskar, and thanking the Most High God for all of you who tune in to us every Shabbat evening. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Praying that the Most High God will continue to bless each and every one of you with life, peace, and health. So at this time, we're going to move ahead. We're moving into the Haftarah for this is actually the fifth Haftarah of comfort, and we will be going over that and thanking the Creator of heaven and earth once again for life, food, clothing, and shelter. And I'm thankful to the Most High God that He's given us this opportunity to come to you, into your houses once again. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers, and one of my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai Ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, let's give praise to the Supreme Intelligent of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and due respect to the platform more and the spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yehudah Ben Yissaskar, to the host, Chief Uzael, to the Prince, Chief Kohanim, Rabbanit, Marine, brothers and sisters and visitors to the channel. I greet you all. Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom. I'll be highlighting just a few portions in the Sidra Teitzei, which means when you go out, and also the fifth Haftarah of comfort. We're winding down, getting close to that time of the sounding of the shofar, the time when we're supposed to be really stepping up our moral compass, getting our moral compass really set in a more of a righteous manner, spiritual manner, to be able to reach that particular unique day. So without further ado, I just wanted to let you know that before I start, let's say Adonai Septadi Takuvia Theaka, O Lord, that my lips and my mouth should declare that praise. And the Haftarah, the actual Sidra starts from the 21st chapter of Deuteronomy, the 10th verse, and it goes all the way to the end of the 25th chapter. And the Haftarah would be the 54th chapter of Isaiah, from 1 to 10. For those that might have a King James version, it might be a different verse. I'm not sure. I didn't look at it and check it out. So just hopefully, this you'll be able to find where I'm starting at in that Masoretic text. Also, I was asked a question concerning the anointing. That I forget what individual asked the question on them, but it was about why was it that Samuel, who anointed the first two kings, anointed Saul with oil coming from a vial, and he anointed David, with oil coming from a shofar, a ram horn. Kevin, that's what the word they use. They use the word, they don't even use shofar, use the word Keren, which means a horn. So I really don't have an answer for that question. That's, given. You probably could have to look it up. So it's one of those things that I just noticed it was a difference because one was called a peak, which is a viol, and then the other one's called a keren, which is a horn. So I'm sure somebody come up with a unique difference, but we know one thing, that Saul was anointed in public, and then David was anointed in more of a more seclusive manner, I should say, more of a seclusive manner. So and it's I'm talking about about the first time and Saul was basically anointed twice, where you don't read where David was anointed but one time. So so this is just one of the questions I don't really have an answer for. I might have to check other sources. Right now I just have to notice that I'm out of town now, so I just happened to notice it when I get a chance to look over some of the comments that was there. All right, so now to go into this particular portion, and I'm just going to read a couple of things in the beginning. For this particular portion, Teitzei has, out of the 613 laws, statutes, and judgments, it has 74 laws in here. So that's quite a bit, and more than any other sidra. So, and it tends to deal with more of an operation of a nation that's living, a society. So it covers all the different areas of society. It's not just about rituals and stuff like that, and and holy days of observance and stuff like that, but it's basically deals with a lot more civil laws, humane laws, humanitarians, so things that a real concerned nation, how do you have your society healthy and wholesome, and it covers every aspect of everybody in the society. So I'm just going to start off right now because it's quite a bit here, but it starts off in the 10th verse of the 21st chapter. When thou goest forth to battle against thy enemies, and the Lord thy God delivered them into thy hands, and thou carried them away captive, and seest amongst the captives a woman of goodly form, and thou hast a desire unto her, and wouldest take her to thee to wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thy house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put on the raiments of her captivity. All right. And she should put, and she should put the raiments of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thy house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that, thou mayest go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou hast no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will. But thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not deal with her as a slave, because thou hast humbled her. Now, the word they use for humbling her is anah. And I read that whole thing out now. You don't for the enemy. Now, we have wars that's divine wars, and we have wars that we just, without God, with divine wars, when I say divine wars, are what they consider holy, what God told us to, go ahead and vex the Midianites. Certain wars, God tell us to go ahead and handle certain things. Some things, instead when you go out to war, it's about, this is something more of a man-made situation where, for whatever reason, when we have an actual strong war going on, then you have, when God tell us himself about the avenge this and avenge that. We read about the certain things about rules of war as we come up and engagement. And it goes a little further because we read about the the priest and the previous Sidra exalting people when they go out to war, against the enemies, and let you know, for the Lord thy God is with thee, and it tells about we're going to be confronted with other battles, and mainly the battles within the land. So now, when we go forth to war against the enemies, which is what we read in the previous chapter, as opposed to, this one here, we already settled in our, supposed to be settled in the land. So there's the wars that goes and takes place after we already in the land. And one of the things is that it's mind-boggling that you destroy a people and you still fall in love with the women of those people. That's, it teaches you that you have a psychological deviance to a degree. Now we know with Midian, some things happen like that in reference to where they kept all the women, and then we had to keep the women. Moses, they was allowed to keep the women that have not known men. But it's when men go to war, it's trying to war is as they say is hell, and they try to tone down the savagery and the bestiality of a human being, because you're going out there to really, slay an individual. And so now you're going out with that kind of malice to slay an individual, and you can't say it's a defense posture, because it's an agreed position that we both going to fight to the death, one side against the other side. And then from the other side, you see somebody that you fell in love with. And the irony is that those that follow more of a halakha viewpoint is that where, if I'm not going to go into the other details about what happens in the field with these women, but this woman that you find is attractive, you bring her home and then you make her look unappealing by shaving her head, and paring her nails. Then you make her unappealing at that point in time. And when you look at her, and she's supposed to beware, give her some time to cry or mourn her mother and father for 30 days. Whereas rabbinically, you basically, a mother and a father, you say Kaddish for 11 months. 11 months you're saying Kaddish. And she only getting 30 days. And you like her. You want her. But it doesn't say anything about she like you or wants you. So, and then you done destroy her family. So not only mother and father could be gone, all the rest of her family is gone. And this is one of the things here. And on the word, and I want to focus on that word that it said you humbled her. Because you say after you really make her your wife, and now, you're dealing with her after 30 days, you don't like her. You can't sell her. You can't use her as a prostitute, pimp her out. And it said, and the book said, because you humbled her. Now you just killed her family. That would seem humbling enough. But now it became more personal. And when the book talks about that, then we look at the situation with Dinah, some time ago in the book of Genesis. I mean, we look in the book of Genesis, the 34th chapter, when this prince snatched up the woman, Dinah, and, took her and lay with her and said, humbled her. All right. He didn't kill her family, but so that was like a rape, charge. And this is considered right here a punishing of a rape. But it's not the same level as the rape that we're going to read about later on in this particular portion. All right. But it's just abusing the individual. All right. Where, and it goes on about, man having two wives, and it's like a domino effect, because now she might be your second wife. So I'm not going to go and belabor that, but it talks about a man having two wives, and, he have a firstborn by the one that he hate and the one that he, and the secondborn is by the one he loved, that the firstborn must get the double portion of his property. So that is God looking out for the right of the firstborn. And he goes on to describe it and said, because he is the first fruits of your strength, and the right of firstborn is his. So he earned that by God, by being the firstborn. That's another thing for discussion, even and in depth. But let's look what happens after that. Then let's talk about a rebellious son. All right. So it says, if a man have a stubborn and a rebellious son that will not hearken to the voice of his father or his mother, or the voice of his mother. All right. Now, the voice of the father always seemed rough, always seemed hard. But a mother tends to have more of a soothing voice, and they say don't listen to either one of those voices. And though they chastise him, they put him on punishment and will not hearken unto them. All right. So that means they put him on some kind of punishment, whatever they did with him, in that time. And it says, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of his city and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He does not hearken unto our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put away the evil from the midst of thee, and all Israel shall hear and fear. Now we're told to honor, father and mother. And we was also told every man should fear his father, his mother and his father. Now they had this child that they're supposed to have raised up, because you're supposed to actually invest in your children. Now, this, we don't read about any historical evidence within our society that actually took place, that they actually executed this law. But one of the things you got to look at is that they had this son. Now, this ain't a little boy that's, like a toddler, or maybe a 10-year-old, something like that. This is a guy that's up in age, a certain amount of age, where he drinks, and he already past puberty for a good little ways, and yet they bring him before the elders. They say, well, shouldn't it be other kind of court case? They didn't say the judges, but to the elders, and the elders acting as judges in this case. And one of the things is that if he's that stubborn, if he's that rebellious, then you got to say, well, how both of these parents could put their hands on a guy and bring him up if he's that rebellious and he's struggling? And then how could both of them feel the same way about this individual? Usually in a family, most times in a family, the parents might feel, okay, he ain't that bad. He's bad, but not that bad. No one said the boy is terrible, But in a case like this, they got to be on the exact same page about this individual. So they are actually going to be scrutinized. Of course, isn't this somebody you raised? Didn't somebody say, teach your children diligently? Then how did this, this righteous seed become a degenerate vine? That sounds like something that God said about us in the prophecy. How did I planted a righteous seed? How did you become a degenerate vine? So this has caused you to think, how is the raising of this individual? Now I know we have this African proverb: it takes a village. A village raise orphans. Parenting is what Torah is about. That's what it's about. Parenting. It takes parenting, and that's why the issue is about both the mother and father coming up, because the parenting is in question if you allow something to get out of hand like that. So we don't have a case where it happened, but it's a serious case if it did happen, and it just is brought before the elders here. So let's go a little bit further. I want to bring out one major. I'm gonna skip a lot of stuff here just to save time. And the 22nd verse of the 21st chapter, it says, "And if a man committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt surely bury him the same day. For he that is hanged on a tree, he that is hanged is a reproach unto God, that thou defile not thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance." So right then, there's a certain decency even done to a criminal. Now, what crime do a guy do to be hanged? Now, we know we had the issue with Baal Peor, and the leaders of the people was hanged up, in the sight of everybody. But according to this law, it got to be taken down before sundown, because everybody, even the criminal, is made in the image of the Creator, and therefore they have to be taken down. So that means you show a certain decency to the individual, body of the individual that was also created in the image of God, even though he went wayward. So that leads to a lot of issues with other ideologies that exist about, being dying upon, upon a tree. So I'm not going to get into that right now, but this is something to consider. It's called. Now we know a person that's stoned, worthy of being stoned, before of a crime. It never said they was a curse to God, even though they may get a capital punishment. It don't say they was a curse to God. But in a case like this, when a person is actually hanged, they say you're a curse. That is, really something to consider and discuss with your teachers. Why is it a person that getting stoned, which we know about people getting stoned, such as the guy that was caught picking up sticks on the Shabbat, and they took him out and stoned him, or the young boy that blasphemed the name of God, that they were stoned, but they never called them a curse, being stoned. But it ain't no good thing, because their life is leaving them. But when it comes to the individual that's hung up on a tree, he's called a curse. That's something, to really discuss in those areas there. And then let's deal with the one that's I'm going to focus on another one that's very controversial around my circles, Israelite circles. And that's in the 22nd chapter, the 5th verse. "A woman shall not wear that which pertains unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For whosoever doeth these things is an abomination unto the Lord thy God." So now we have this concept that they call cross-dressing, and everything like that. And the focus is a little bit different, and it's similar, but there's some difference here. And I'm gonna read what it says in Hebrew, the Hebrew language, in the fifth verse. It says, "Loliye kli gever." So it says, a low is permanent. It should not be, and kli, a vessel. All right. It said, so it's a vessels or utensils. All right. Kli is vessels or utensils or weapons. All right. All right. So it says, "Loliye kli gever al isha." All right. So a woman not supposed to wear, a vessel of, and gever is actually a masculine, a man used for a man. All right. It don't use the word ish. It don't use the word adam. It used the word gever, in this particular point. But it's translated as man because, and just like today we use the term gever for a female. All right. They use that, but it's more so like a warrior. Okay. And then and to finish it out, and it says, "Lo labesh gever," same thing for the man, "simla." Yeah, and it's used the word simlat, all right, because it's going to be dealt with a woman. All right. "Simla isha ki toavad, Adonai Elohecha." Call say ele. Elah, Ele, and so on everything. So now, when they talk about a simla isha, a woman's garment, that is abomination, key toavat, and then Adonai haircut, it's abomination for the Lord your God, and everyone call and say, anyone that do it, call or say, Ele, all those that do these things. All right. So anything that do those things is abomination. So now simla, the first, we think about pants, and that's what most brothers push. Women shouldn't wear pants, shouldn't wear trousers. Fashions are different from time periods and in society, but that's not what the book talk about here, because the book recognized fashion is different in different regions and time period. So when they use the word simla, the first time that word simla is ever used is actually used when Shem and Japhet, Shem and Japhet, as they say. So Shem and Japhet, they actually covered their father Noah with a garment when he was laying in his tent naked after he was drunk. That's the first time that word is ever used. Then the very next time that I can recall that it's being used is when they had the garments of the coat, the katana pasim, the coat of many colors of Joseph brought into their father Jacob. They had it sent to him. All right, and Jacob recognized the coat, and he looked, and he said, "Surely, my son's torn of beast. He's surely torn," and he rent his similar thigh. Similar thigh is, garments in plural. That's what he had on. He tore that off. So if Jacob wore similar, did that mean that he wearing something that belonged to a female? If Noah was covered with something, that means he was covered with something that belongs to a female. So you can have rules in your particular location and say on certain occasions we have a dress code. That's okay. That's your rules you make up, and you got to say, this is the rules of the place here. All right. This is the only spot in the scriptures that this is even spoken on. Only spot. And it's dealing with a woman that's looking like Xena, the warrior princess, sword, shield, battle ram, axe, like them Viking women's as well. All right. That was a no-no. It was men going out to war and not women going out to war. So this is what his focus is on, and this was all about join. They can't, like today now, these days, time women join the army with everybody else side by side and all that stuff. But and it's a high moral society that would never happen. In ancient times, and those societies that have high morals, they didn't allow that. So, but today, a lot of people do that. Whether it's of Judaic faith or whether it's Islamic faith, and definitely the Christian faith, they do that. So no matter what, they do that today. But this is what the book says, and that's all it means, is about a woman putting on armor and gear going out to battle, and a man not supposed to look and pass himself off as a female as intel. And we have a lot of comedians today that tends to, for $1, try to dress a certain way. One of the most famous is when we talk about the Medea character. All right, very 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 entertaining. Makes a lot of money in that area, but that is an abominable thing, for a man to do that, in that area there, and in a sense a bad message. So and I just want to bring out only, and for just in case, maybe by saying hey, I got this phobia and everything like that. No, what it is that I'm explaining what the meaning of the scripture is, and in its plain, simple form. And so, and a lot of sisters ask me from time to time, where this says we can't wear pants and stuff like that, especially when, cold out there. And the fashion statement, a lot of us wear robes, and we didn't wear too many pants. Pants becomes more, it's more of a, trousers became more of a modern thing that, and they, I know a lot of brothers used to say, well, don't when we read with trousers, it's the priest, because it's for a man. So his nakedness be not discovered thereon. We could get even closer when women should reach that time in the month, what they're going to use as to hold themselves together when they reach that time in the month. So we got to really look at the scriptures and keep things within its particular context. And you could discuss things with your various teachers, but that word kli is used only. And matter of fact, when you go to some kosher restaurants, you'll see the term also a kli, which is a cup. That's more commonly used for that nowadays, where they would wash their hands with, when they go to a restaurant, like kosher restaurant. But kli is any kind of utensil. You find it with, tabernacles, stuff like that. And you also find it with weapons. And it's just a vessel. That's it. And it could be it could be used as made out of skin, such as a water bottle that's made out of skin, leather, and stuff like that. But that's all it is vessels. But the vessels and utensils are talking about in weapons. And in this case, it means weapons, tools that you're going to use. All right. So, so much for that. I'm just going to read one more little item. I know it's so much here. Well, I got to touch on a couple of things when it comes down to let's look at the 12th verse. Well, mingle. Mingle garments and mingle seeds is mentioned right here. Sowing your land with mingle seed, and it's talking about that particular land too. And it gives you, a reason why you shouldn't do it. And plus, the land is holy. Then in the 10th verse, it says of the 22nd chapter, thou shalt not plow with an ox on the ass together. Thou shalt not wear and mingle stuff, wool and linen together. Now, we know we got two types of animals, one kosher, one not kosher. One stronger than the other, though an ass is pound for pound stronger than an ox, but they're not as strong as an ox standing side by side. Plus, there's the height difference and the yoke difference, and they're unevenly yoked. And wool and linen, it's besides a lot of midrashes to talk in reference to that cause of first, slaying of an individual. One was keep a sheep, another one was, till of the ground. Linen come from the ground, and wool come from animals, stuff like that. So those are some of the elements that is there. It causes and it's not so much a health reason. And though I always speak on about certain parts of the Kohen garment had that mixture in there. But when we look at some of the Ugaritic texts that Maimonides spoke on, and guess that it was prescribed for the priests of the Canaanites to have that, to have their wool and linen together. So and so they have these different little spots where you can go and say, check for what they call shatness, see if it's all wool or all linen, those areas there. Today, we got all these other, polyester, nylon, all these different stuff like that. You got silk, so you got so many different types of fibers today, man-made fabrics and stuff like that there today, as opposed to those two particular elements where most clothes was ever made, either from linen or from plant or from wool, animal stuff. All right. So now, the 12th verse, it says, thou shalt make the twisted cords upon the four corners of thy covering, wherewith thou coverest thyself. Now, that's what we normally refer to as the tzitzit. Now, here in this particular portion, it's called the word is used gedolim. Gedolim that literally means a twisted type cord. So here it tells you how the cord should look. It should be some, a string that's, actually twisted together, so to speak, and then you make a string like that. Like you say, the hemp rope that they use, just kind of twisted like. So they use that, but you notice it's missing, what they call tekelet, a cord of blue. The word tekelet, is not used in this particular portion. Only two places you find about certain, strings or gedolim or cc's on a garment on the four corners, and they use the same word kanaf, kanfot, out about kanfot, four corners, all right, or four wings. So it's used there. So that's the only place. Now, the only time you find the word tzitz itself is on the high priest band that he wears. It says with a gold plate that says, with a blue band that says holy, holy, holy unto the Lord. So that's one area there. Let me move on about a couple other little areas here, and it talks about a guy getting married, and the woman's not a virgin, and he takes a wife and claims that she's not a virgin, bring up an evil name. Then the parents supposed to have the tokens of the virginity, which is the sheep from that first night, and then when they find out that she was a virgin, then this guy's beat and fined 100 pieces of shekels of silver. So he's beaten, fined 100 shekels of silver, which is an exorbitant amount, and he's not allowed to get rid of her. Now, whether she want to get rid of him or not is another thing, and so rabbinically, it's a discussion there that he put her in a situation where her life could be at stake. But the parents are supposed to make sure. And if not, and if the stuff be true and the parents can't produce the token of her virginity, then she's taken to the door of her family's house. And she's stoned by the men of the city there. So that's a tragic to see your daughter being slain at a spot right there in your eyesight where she grew up at. All right. And and defiling that actual spot too as well. But let's go a little bit further and look at adultery. It talks about adultery in the 22nd verse. It said, if a man be found lying with a woman married to her husband, then they shall both of them die. The man that lay with the woman, and the woman, so shall thou put away the evil from Israel. It's not like you see on these talk shows, yeah, she lied, she did this and stepped out, take her back. That's not God's way. That's not godly area. 23rd verse. And if there be a damsel that is a virgin betrothed to a man, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gate of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he humbled, same word again, his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away the evil from the midst of thee. So right then and there, that she is just betrothed to a man. That's a marriage already. The husband never even got to her yet. She's betrothed. And that's like a marriage. And once you say you're engaged, that's it. So anybody that messes with you or you mess with them, it's in violation. Now, in the city, it's supposed to be heard, but then it goes on even further and says, but if the man find a damsel that is betrothed in the field, and the man take hold of her and lie with her, then the man only that lie with her shall die. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man rises against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. You notice the thing is that she was not worthy of death. In that area there, and then it said no sin worthy of death. But how did she get in that position? Why did she was out there like that? Still reflect back on Dina a little bit. I mean, she's out there, but she became vulnerable, in that area there. And our law is based on similar things that happened in the patriarchal history. All right. And that's why Shimon and Levi, they answered, the way they answered their father Yaakov. And Yaakov just required, because there still was an agreement made, an agreement they could live with. All right. The 23rd chapter, right quick, it says that a man shall not take his father's wife, and shall not uncover his father's skirt. All right, it's clear cut. He that's crushed or maimed in his private part should not enter the assembly of the Lord. That means right there, and crushed or maimed in his private part. Now, there's a big discussion that goes on with that. Was it before? Something that happened later? These type of things you've got to discuss with your teachers there. But it means now we know castration is a serious matter too. In the ancient times, they did a lot of that. All right, let's deal with the third. A bastard shall not enter the assembly of the Lord, even to his 10th generation shall none of his enter into the assembly of the Lord. All right, now I just want to focus on that because that become a controversy amongst some circles, some around. A mamzia is the Hebrew word for it. Mamzia for bastard. A bastard could be a male or a female. A bastard is any illegitimate in the sense that a woman that committed adultery, she wasn't caught, but he had a child, or incest. So do incest, those forbidden relationships that's prohibited by Torah, that's where you get a bastard. Now, when we come down, say the woman in the field, because we have this big thing today about abortion, abortion rights, and the big controversy about the Roe versus Wade, or what's going on today in the political society. Well, if a woman is raped in ancient times, she's raped and she's pregnant, but they caught the guy, killed him, or the guy got away, whatever the case is, or the army, and she could have been married. Or she ain't married. I'm saying she's not married. She's not married. I want to make it clear. She's not married, but she's raped by some individual, and she had this child. The child that she has, that she carry, and even give birth to, that child is not a mamzia. Though we're seeing the circumstances was really tragic, that individual child, though the woman was raped, the raper might have got caught, slain, or got away. But the woman is raped, in that sense. Then that child is not a mamzer. He's not a bastard, whether it's male or female. Whether she want to, how she look at him, how she raise him. Another thing, these are the things you must discuss in with your various teachers in those areas there. And the thing is that, a 10th generation, that means this individual that's illicit seed, it says, even to the 10th generation shall none of his enter into the assembly of the Lord. That means he's still procreating. You still have generations of children. So you got to be very careful who you will call a bastard, because most of us don't live past 4 generations. So who's going to remember the circumstances of another individual? So that's why it takes only the Creator to wean out at the generations of generation who's a mamzer, who's not. Sometimes a person might, mysteriously die early, whatever the case is. We don't know what's going on with that. But but one of the things is that this individual could make it even to the 10th generation, and he can never be part of the congregation of the Lord. And he might be a good individual. He might be a sort of a God-fearing individual to a degree. I don't know. That takes a lot of discussion. But he can never be part of, or he or she can never be part of the congregation of the Lord. So that's what a bastard is in that sense. And when they talk about the Ammonites and the Moabites, they didn't give us, they can't enter because, and it goes on to give the reason why, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when you came forth out of Egypt, because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Baal, from Petor of Aram Naharaim, to curse thee. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever. That means right in there, we read about the book of Ruth. We read about some people headed to a neighborhood where they shouldn't have been headed at. All right. But it's talking about the men, marrying into Israel. No men should be married into Israel. And rabbinically, halakhically, most people will, say, neither the men marrying their women. But it's obviously that's not the case, because Boaz married Ruth. So it's the men themselves that carry the seed. They can enter, and then it offers some of the most simplest things, which is a more humane thing: bread and water to a wayfarer. Abraham offered something for the people that appeared before him, which we find out to be angels. Lot also offered, drink and matzah, bread and water, to wayfarers. That's a normal thing to do, and that's a humane thing to do, the most basic of all hospitalities. I'm just go maybe one more in here, and because we know the Edomites and Egyptians, they could still marry only Edomites, and they could still only marry Egyptians. But after 3 generations, that means the grandchild of an Egyptian, all right, the 3rd generation, the grandchild of an Egyptian that accept our way of life, he's full-fledged brother, as they're concerned. And Edomite, though he's family from the beginning, he's only considered a full-fledged, where he could be part of the assembly, into the assembly of the Lord, and the 3rd generation. So now, that's when they accept our way of life. You might want to discuss with your leaders, what do it mean by the assembly of the Lord? That is, a topic I'm not going to go into today, at this point, but, you could discuss with your leaders. All right. And we know about usury, and we know about divorce is mentioned here. This is the only spot in the whole scriptures where it gives a certain criteria about divorce. in that area there. And then and talk about corporal punishment, paying people wages and stuff like that. But one of the things about, I this last thing, before I go into about Amalek, it says in the 24th chapter, the 17th verse, thou shalt not pervert the justice due to the stranger or to the fatherless, nor take the widow's raiment to pledge. But thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondsman in Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee thence. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. I wanted to read that one because Moses felt personal about that. It's not the God that commanded them to do these things in the sense. Don't we read earlier that the widow and the orphan, you gotta look out for them, and we're supposed to do certain things. But Moses took it personal in this particular verse here, where he said, "I command you." More so than this God, I'm saying this is what I want you to do. All right, and I'm giving you a reason why you need to do this. All right, so that's something you could probably discuss even further. And we talk about the 40 stripes. A lot of times you read about 39 save one, and it comes from the word akika, which is your brother in Hebrew, and the numerical value for akika is 39, and you don't want to mess up and go over the 39 and the 40 stripes. All right, and you talk about Levitical marriage, about animals eating on the job while they're working. People are allowed to eat on the job. Animals allowed to eat on the job. So, it's food there for you. He's making food for you, and he can't eat food for himself. That's very inhumane. So we talk about the humane society for animals. All that comes from Torah itself. All right. And the last thing, it talk about Amalek. So remember what Amalek did unto thee, by the way, as he came forth out of Egypt, how he met thee, by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, all that were enfeebled in thy rear, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thy enemies round about in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget. So now, what is strange is, how do I remember and forget at the same time? And then I'm supposed to be in the land. It's they did this here while we was coming out of Egypt, but it's going to take us that long to conquer the land to say, oops, we got a job to do that we left unfinished. And then it said, remember, and then it talked about blot it out and do not forget. So how am I going to blot out something and still remember? So this is one of the things that you could discuss further with your teachers. Now we're going to go straight to the book of Isaiah, the 54th chapter, and taking it from 1 to 10. So that'll be Isaiah. Hallelujah. You can start when you got it. Cheers.
We're in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud. Thou that didst not travail. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith Yehovah.
Okay, right then and there. So even in our hard times, in our desperate times, the Creator sent it to some of the prophets, said, look here, sing. Things will get better. It will come to pass. And it'll be, everything will be all right. And it takes a lot to comfort us in a bad situation. Usually when a person going through traumatic trauma, and in incarceration and stuff like that, where they shackled, it seems like you see no out in this area here. But then it goes on to say, pick it up in a second.
Verse 2, it reads, enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thy habitations.
Uh-huh.
Spare not, lengthen thy cords and strengthen thy stakes.
Okay, right then and there, saying, look here, things gonna be better. You gonna and it's talking like and you know, when the people come back, you know, you ain't gonna be crammed up. There's something, and it's really focused about the land itself. Of course, just like we miss the land miss us. This is what it's all about. So we're tied to the land, and the land is tied to us. Once God gave it to us in that area, just like when but Bilam wanted to curse us, Moses let us know clearly that God turned the curse into a blessing and would not listen to him. Not that we didn't deserve it, but only because he loved us that much. So God love supersede what we did. And that's one of the things that Moses brought out, that we didn't deserve, you know, I mean, we really supposed to be cursed. And if had we been a normal nation, like every other nation, but God had such a great love for us as an individual. And so that means the love that transferred from our forefathers, Abraham, went down and trickled down to us, his seed. And that's why God said, nah, I'm not going to allow that to happen. All right. So here it is. For us, a blessing is going on there. Continue.
Verse 3, it reads, For thou shalt spread abroad on the right hand and on the left,
Keep going.
and thy seed shall possess the nations, and make the desolate cities to be inhabited.
Keep going.
Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame. For thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and the reproach of thy widowhood shalt thou remember no more.
Hold right there. All right, you won't think about that no more. You're gonna forget about that. You know, in good times, when you're super good times, you don't remember the bad times. But in the bad times, you know, I mean, it's hard to see good times. You know, it's hard to see good times. But here that you created, you know, you're gonna see some good times. It's just gonna be the opposite for us as a nation. All right, and you won't remember the bad times. All right, continue.
Verse 5, it reads, For thou makest thy husband, Yehovah of hosts is his name, and the Holy One of Yisrael is thy Redeemer, the God of the whole earth shall he be called.
All right there. All right. All right, husband and redeemer. That's what the book says about the creator. So now we done graduated somewhat from being the children, the offspring, into a spouse. So we done elevated, and that's what the creator saying. Though we you read sometimes in the prophecy, where's the bill, your mother, the bill of divorcement for your mother, and yet it talks now and they're saying, look here, you had elevated to be my partner, my wife. That's what the creator allowed us to come to that status. And ain't just talking about the children no more, talking about you to develop into a whole nother level, a whole nother stage. So that we are actually a mate and become somewhat a partner to God that he allows, which is not said about any other celestial being or any other creature. And also, it's not even said about any other nation. So we are definitely, unique in that area. Continue.
Verse 6, For thou, Yehovah, have called thee as a wife forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth. Can she be rejected, saith thy God?
In other words, most men remember the wife of their youth. And they used to call that popular the first love. No matter, you can always talk about, oh man, one time I was deep in love about this and that person. You're gonna recall that like it was yesterday. Even though it's the foregone days of old, you know what I mean? But you will recall that. So this is what the creator is saying, that a wife of you, she can she be rejected? So it's like Isaac when he first met his Rivka. She already was fine, but he said he made her his wife, And then he loved her. Not loved her, and then made her his wife. So loving got to supersede the relationship. Not the relationship supersede the loving, in that area. All right, continue.
Verse 7. For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great compassion will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have compassion on thee, saith Yehudah, thy Redeemer.
In other words, I said, look, for a minute, I get a little hot. I get a little upset. Yeah. But that's only for a moment. And I need to take that time out. One of the things about when we were at Mount Sinai, and Moses mentioned earlier, I think in the Sidra, at Canaan, and said, when we heard the voice of God speaking, and we said, Moses, speak thou with us, and we were here, but let not God will speak with us lest we die. And Moses, when he recounting this story in the book of Deuteronomy, he said, God said, we spoke well. And now, can you imagine a God that said, when we say we don't want to hear him, and he said, well, y'all spoke well. And you wonder, why is that? Why would we settle for a messenger instead of keeping that direct line going when we had it as a nation? And one of the things is that when God said they spoke well, is because when God tell you something, it's never going to be a thing where you can't understand it. It's going to be clear cut. So there'll be no excuse for, it will have no excuse to say, I didn't get that clear. I wasn't sure. And therefore, he could always exercise some grace and some mercy because you're getting this stuff secondhand. So a lot of times we just figure, hey, and most times, and that's the first thought, I should keep God. That doesn't look good. But God said they spoke well. That means right then and there, we freely chose that at times I'm going to need some mercy. At times I'm going to need some grace. So, at times I'm going to need some forgiveness as we go into this particular season, of repentance. So therefore, we spoke well in that sense, because we read where the prophets, if God dealing with the prophets and he gives them a vision, and he said, what seed is that? And sometimes they get it right, like Jeremiah, and sometimes they don't understand the meaning of certain things. And God had to explain it to them. So if the prophet had to sometimes ask, what mean thee by this, about that, or this, then we have that same, cushion. Because he got it, and he had to be, and the prophet had to, get the information about what he saw. I didn't even see what the prophet saw. So now the prophet's telling me something. You know what I mean? So you know how it is sometimes, the telephone game, the word might be a little lost, or my understanding or viewpoint might be a little different. So this is one of the great things about this here area here. And so when the creator had made this statement here, that he left a great compassion for us in those areas there. All right. And so when you get hot, it's only for a moment, but it goes on to say what?
It reads, verse 9, for this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I will not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. For the mountains may depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall my covenant of peace be removed, saith Yehudah that have compassion on thee. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. The covenant of peace. You know what I mean? That's one of the things, the last thing that the creator, and that priestly blessing, the 3 words, 5 words, and 7 words in the Hebrew is peace. That's what he put it upon us. You know what I mean? Then we read about the covenant of peace given directly to Pinchas for his zealousness, and yet we're going to get that same covenant in the final end. So I hope you got something out of what I said. I know I went a little quick in this area, and any mistakes by my own, leave any comments or questions. And you can always discuss it with your various leaders and teachers, those areas there. And I'd say, Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. And to everyone out there, I remind you, don't forget to, before you come out of this video, just press the like button. The like button doesn't cost anything. Just so before you leave out, just press that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to share the link. And Shabbat Shalom to all of you. May the Most High God bless you all with good Shabbat sleep, and may the Most High God wake us all up in the morning to be able to praise his name in unison. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom, family. Shalom, Nasik. Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.